Is the Rebel Alliance a terrorist organization? This is a question that a lot of Star Wars fans have pondered. Some are for sure no, and some are for sure yes. Well, in this video I am going to try to explain, is the Rebel Alliance actually a terrorist organization? To begin with, let's look at the Declaration of Rebellion, which is the first thing we see on the Alliance to Restore the Republic's Wikipedia page. So they say what their goals are. They say to fight in it begins, we the Rebel Alliance do therefore in the name and by the authority of the free beings of the galaxy solemnly publish and declare our intentions. To fight and oppose you and your forces, meaning the Galactic Empire, by any and all means at our disposal, to refuse any imperial law contrary to the rights of free beings, to bring about your destruction and the destruction of the Galactic Empire, to make forever free all beings in the galaxy. To these ends we pledge our property, our honor, and our lives. So that I think tells a lot about the mindset of the mainstream Rebel Alliance. They also do not consider themselves a terrorist organization, though it does imply, because they talk about by any and all means at our disposal, that they are willing to do terrorist acts. But what countries in our real world have not done terrorist acts? Just look at the way the United States have treated Native Americans, particularly when we were actively fighting them in order to kick them off of their land. We were essentially conducting terrorism against them. You can even argue that the bombings of cities during World War II, just cities, not even military complexes, just regular cities inhabited by civilians by both sides in the Second World War, you can easily argue those were terrorist acts. So, did they commit terrorist acts? Yes, the Rebel Alliance did. But was they a terrorist organization? I think not. Because they clearly condemned all organizations that use terror as their primary means. The Rebel Alliance mainly wanted to target military objectives. And they really never targeted civilian targets, just military targets. Like, you never actually got to see them target the Academy for Young Imperials on Lothal. Sure, they infiltrated it, but they never attacked it. And the other things as well. This is something the people at Generation Tech often bring up, all the non-combat personnel on the Death Stars, and then also with the Star Wars Rebel season finale on the Imperial Command Center on Lothal. Well, most of those were Imperials. Most Imperials are armed. So that means they can be combat personnel. That is harder to say, but they often talk about civilians being on the Death Star. Maybe the second Death Star, but probably not the first Death Star. And look the way the Imperials treated its civilian workforce. Not the best. If anything, the Empire used terrorist tactics more than the Rebel Alliance did. But was the Rebel Alliance a terrorist organization? As I said, no, they were not a terrorist organization, even though they may have used terrorist tactics. Now, groups like the Partisans, that they were clearly a terrorist organization. And also the Dreamers, which were an offshoot of the Partisans, clearly a terrorist organization, kind of more indiscriminately targeting Imperials or even those remotely connected to Imperials, such as a graduation ceremony at an Imperial Academy. Like, okay, you may want to reduce the Imperial military, but most of those were young children. And so, yeah. And you gotta see that entirely from a point of view of a Imperial. So, yeah, maybe it will make at least the Partisans and the Dreamers to be more terrorist organizations, but I think it is safe to say that elements of the wider rebel movement were terrorist organizations, but not the mainstream Rebel Alliance. While of course they probably used terrorist tactics, I don't believe it was their primary means. The attack of the Death Stars, well, those could be considered terrorist attacks, but they were going up against military targets, and one had already destroyed a planet in a true terrorist attack. So, the Rebel Alliance were not terrorists. Like in Star Wars Rebels, we see them evacuate Lothal because they knew that their presence on Lothal would harm Lothal in the long run. The Rebel Spectres left Lothal to protect the civilians who were not fighting against the Empire. The Rebels' main base of operations typically were on uninhabited worlds. The two main ones we have in the original trilogy were Yavin 4 and Hoth. Neither had a civilian population, and probably the only thing you would have really expected would probably be smugglers and pirates occupying the same moon or planet. And then in Rebels, they evacuated Gorel because their presence attracted the Empire, and they were looking for a base where if the Empire came, no civilians would be in the way. That's when they found Atollon. So the fact that we have see them twice in the original trilogy have their main base on planets without civilian populations, and in Rebels see them searching for a planet without a civilian population, show that the Rebel Alliance does care about the civilians, the people who are not fighting for the Empire. They care, or for the Rebel Alliance, those who are not doing anything. The Rebel Alliance cares about them and wants to keep them safe. The partisans would have probably not really have cared, but the Rebel Alliance does. So, there's your answer. The Rebel Alliance may use terrorist tactics, but they are not terrorists. They are not a terrorist organization, unlike the partisans, which has clearly committed terrorist actions. Now, when you talk about Rebel intelligence and their operatives, they may have committed some terrorist actions. It is implied. But I'm not going to get into those because I have a feeling a lot of those were unknown to the higher ups in the Rebel Alliance outside of Alliance intelligence, Rebel intelligence. They probably committed more terrorist actions. But again, I think the main Rebel Alliance did not want to use terrorism as their method of fighting the Empire. They wanted to essentially grow in power, grow in strength so they can fight a proper war with the Empire. Maybe still using guerrilla tactics and hit and run, but not terrorist tactics. So yeah, that's where I'm going to end with you, is with simply, as I stated multiple times in this video, the Rebel Alliance is not a terrorist organization, even if they use terrorist tactics, because that is not their mindset. Their mindset is not to put civilians in harm's way. So thank you for watching this video. If you were satisfied with my conclusion, please leave a like, and also comment down below. Do you think the Rebel Alliance was a terrorist organization? I would love to hear from you. Also consider supporting me on Patreon. Not only do you get to help support the channel, but you also get extra goodies such as commentaries on certain videos and behind the scenes looks. Also consider following me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. Links are in the description. And as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. May the Force be with you always.